Have you ever dreamed of retiring early, of finally walking away from the stress, the meetings, the noise, only to sit back, relax, and enjoy the life you've worked so hard for? What if I told you that early retirement might not be the dream? You think it is? For decades, we've been sold a vision: retire early, live longer, be happier. But that story is only half true. And the other half? It's the one nobody talks about. The truth is, walking away too soon, without a clear purpose, without a plan, without the right habits, can silently shave years off your life. Not just in terms of time, but in meaning, in energy, and in the depth of your connection with the world around you. Because retirement, for many, doesn't become a new beginning. It becomes a slow fading, a quiet drift into isolation, boredom, even depression. According to the Institute of Economic Affairs, retirement increases the chances of suffering from clinical depression by a staggering 40%. Cognitive decline, social withdrawal, physical deterioration, they don't all come at once. They creep in day by day, disguised as freedom. In this video, we're going to explore 7 shocking truths about retirement. Real patterns, real science, and real life stories. Some will challenge everything you believe. Others might hit closer to home than you'd like. But each one carries a key, a way to not just survive retirement, but to thrive in it. To protect your mind, your health, your relationships, and even add years to your life. By the end, you'll see retirement in a whole new light. Not as an ending, not even as a reward, but as a powerful turning point. One that demands more courage, more clarity, and more purpose than we were ever told. Comment number 1 if you're ready. Let's start with something many people overlook. Something that doesn't show up on a blood test or in a bank account, but quietly shapes every day of retirement. Purpose. It's easy to underestimate just how much our work gave us. Structure, goals, identity. Even if we complained about the pressure or long hours deep down, it gave us a reason to get up in the morning. It kept our minds focused, our calendars full, and our conversations meaningful. But once that ends, something else begins. A quiet erosion. Frank felt it within the first few months. At first it was relaxing, coffee in the morning with nowhere to rush to. But soon the days started blending together. No meetings, no deadlines, no one needing him. The thrill of being free faded, replaced by something he couldn't quite name. A kind of weightlessness. Like he was drifting. He didn't miss the job. He missed having a reason. Helen, on the other hand, knew this could happen. She had seen it in others. Sharp minds becoming dull, vibrant people fading. That's why she created her own new version of purpose. She mentored young teachers. She joined a historical society. She even started tutoring students in underserved neighborhoods. These roles didn't pay a dime, but they paid her in meaning, in clarity, in direction. Science backs this up. A study published in JAMA Network Open found that people with a strong sense of purpose had a 15% lower risk of death, regardless of income or health status. Purpose, it turns out, isn't just psychological, it's biological. Frank had time, Helen had meaning, and that made all the difference. Now moving to the second factor that silently affects longevity, the slow and often invisible drift into isolation. When we think of retirement, we imagine more time with family and friends. But what often happens is the opposite. Routines vanish, colleagues disappear, conversations become fewer. Days stretch out with little social interaction, and loneliness settles in, not loudly, but gradually. Frank didn't expect this. He assumed he'd keep in touch with his coworkers, maybe meet up now and then. But life moved on. People got busy. The phone stopped ringing. He didn't know how to make new friends outside the office. Before long, entire weeks passed without a real conversation. At first, he told himself it was fine. He enjoyed the peace. But deep inside, he began to feel invisible. Helen knew how dangerous this could be. She'd read the research. Loneliness isn't just uncomfortable, it's deadly. The National Institute on Aging found that chronic isolation increases the risk of dementia by 50%, stroke by 32%, and early death by 26%. These numbers aren't just statistics, they're warnings. So she stayed proactive. She kept her friendships alive and formed new ones. She joined community book clubs, attended lectures, and hosted weekly dinners. She made social connection a priority, not a byproduct. Her life stayed full, and her heart stayed open. Frank faded into silence. Helen leaned into community. The difference? One aged alone, the other aged alive. The third behavior that slowly undermines your health is one many never notice until it's too late: the quiet decline of cognitive stimulation. The human brain is not designed for endless rest. It thrives on challenge, novelty, and learning. Just like a muscle, when it stops being used, it begins to weaken. And yet, retirement often marks the end of mental effort. The books stay closed. The puzzles stay in the drawer. Curiosity fades. That's exactly what happened to Frank. Without work emails, meetings, or problems to solve, his days became mentally quiet. He watched more television, skimmed the news, but didn't engage. His memory began slipping, not dramatically, just enough to notice. He forgot names more often, misplaced things, felt foggy even in conversations. Helen made a different choice. She treated retirement as a new classroom. Every morning she read for 30 minutes. Twice a week she attended lectures at the community college. She even took up Spanish, just for fun. Her days stretched her mind in new directions. She wasn't trying to stay young. She was staying engaged. Science is clear on this. The Journal of the American Geriatric Society reports that older adults who engage in intellectually stimulating activities show slower cognitive decline and are significantly less likely to develop dementia. The brain, it turns out, craves novelty at any age. Frank rested his mind. Helen challenged hers. And in doing so, she stayed sharp, alert, and alive to the world around her. Up next, the fourth sign that many people dismiss is physical stillness, the slow surrender to a sedentary life. Work, for all its stress, kept us moving. Commuting, walking between meetings, standing, lifting, adjusting, there was motion. But in retirement, that movement often disappears. Days become slower, more passive. The body begins to atrophy not from disease, but from disuse. Frank once walked 5 blocks from the train station every morning. He took stairs. He stood in meetings. Now, he barely walks a few hundred steps a day. The couch became his resting place, and then his prison. His joints stiffened. His back ached. He gained weight, and with it came blood pressure issues and rising cholesterol. He blamed age. But it wasn't just age, it was inertia. Helen treated movement as a daily prescription. Her mornings began with a brisk walk, nothing heroic, just 30 minutes of consistent motion. She stretched while listening to audiobooks, took yoga twice a week. She wasn't chasing youth, she was preserving vitality. The Mayo Clinic confirms what Helen already knew. Even light physical activity in older adults lowers the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even depression. And consistent movement is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. Frank slowed down, and his body followed. Helen stayed active, and it became her fountain of strength. As we move forward, there's a fifth pattern that deserves attention. The illusion that retirement is the time to finally stop, to rest, to do nothing. We're told we've earned it, that after decades of work, we should just relax, sleep in, take it easy. But what happens when rest becomes the main event of every day? Frank had that dream. No alarms, no schedules, no obligations. For the first few weeks, it felt like heaven. But soon the long mornings turned into entire days of inactivity. Afternoon naps blurred into restless nights. Without structure, even rest lost its meaning. He began feeling tired all the time, despite doing less than ever. He wasn't alone. Many retirees feel the same, tired, sluggish, drained, while doing almost nothing. It seems backward, but there's a reason. The body and brain crave cycles, effort and recovery, movement and pause. When effort disappears, recovery becomes impossible. Endless rest, without stimulation or challenge, doesn't restore energy. It drains it. Helen respected rest, but only after effort. She kept her days structured: morning walks, midday volunteering, late afternoon reading. She didn't avoid rest, she earned it. And because of that, her sleep was deeper, her energy higher, her mood more stable. Research from Harvard Medical School supports this. Purposeful activity, even light, improves sleep quality and overall vitality in older adults far more than passive rest. Frank confused stillness with peace. Helen found rest through rhythm, and that rhythm kept her strong. Let me share the sixth reason why many fail to maintain good health in retirement, an invisible weight that creeps in long after the final paycheck. Financial stress. Many people believe that once they retire, money becomes a non-issue. The house is paid off, the nest egg is in place. But retirement isn't a finish line. It's a long, unpredictable chapter, and often far more expensive than expected. Frank thought he had planned well. His savings looked solid on paper, but he didn't account for rising healthcare costs. He didn't see inflation coming, and he never imagined how quickly just a few indulgences would add up. After a few years, he found himself quietly anxious. He started skipping doctor appointments, delaying home repairs, and saying no to social outings. Not because he didn't want to go, but because he was afraid of the cost. Helen faced the same financial unknowns, but she approached retirement with a different mindset. She built her post-career life around value, not expense. She traded costly entertainment for community events, dinners out for potlucks, and travel for local adventures. Most importantly, she stayed financially literate, reviewing her expenses, adjusting when needed, and staying informed. It gave her peace. It gave her freedom. A study from the American Psychological Association found that over 60% of retirees experience moderate to severe financial stress within the first 10 years of retirement, even those who thought they were well prepared. Frank hid his worry. Helen faced it. That difference allowed her to stay active, social, and free from the silent shame that financial fear often brings. Finally, there's one last habit that might surprise you because it hides in plain sight. The loss of identity. For many, the job wasn't just a paycheck, it was a name, a role, a title. It was where we were needed, respected, and known. But when the job ends, that identity often goes with it, and what's left behind can feel like nothing. Frank had always introduced himself with pride. Regional sales manager. It meant something. After retirement, he didn't know what to say. I used to be became his new introduction. He felt unanchored in conversations, unsure of where he fit. At family gatherings, he stayed quiet. In public, he faded into the background. Not because he had nothing to say, but because he no longer knew who he was. Helen understood this trap. That's why, long before she stopped working, she started building a life beyond her title. She wasn't just a teacher. She was a reader, a mentor, a community member, a friend. After retirement, her sense of self didn't shrink, it expanded. She no longer clung to who she was. She embraced who she was becoming. Psychologists call this identity foreclosure, the crisis that comes when a core part of who we are suddenly disappears. And for retirees, it's one of the most common and most unspoken sources of depression. Frank let go of his career, but nothing came to take its place. Helen let go too, but only after she had something new to hold. The question isn't what you did, it's who you're still becoming. So, what does retirement really mean? For some, it becomes a slow unraveling of habits, of health, of identity. For others, it's a new season of clarity, strength, and purpose. The difference isn't luck, it's not even money, it's mindset, it's preparation, it's the courage to ask deeper questions before stepping into a chapter that will define not just how long you live, but how well you live. Frank's story is not unusual, it's not even tragic, it's just common. He did what many do, retired with relief, and slowly faded into a life with less motion, less connection, less meaning. His health declined, his spirit dimmed, and in the quiet, he started to wonder what he had really been working toward. Helen made different choices, not perfect ones, but intentional ones. She retired with a plan, not for money, but for energy, for movement, for contribution. Her calendar stayed full, her mind stayed sharp, and her days kept meaning. Retirement didn't end her story, it turned the page to something deeper. The truth is, we don't age all at once. We age in small decisions, in what we choose to do with our mornings, in whether we reach out or withdraw, in how we move, think, connect, and in how we carry purpose, even when no one is asking anything of us anymore. If you've already retired, it's not too late. And if you're approaching it, don't walk in with your eyes closed. Walk in ready to build something new, ready to live, not just rest. This video wasn't meant to scare you. It was meant to wake you up to a truth too many learn too late, but not you. Comment below and tell us which truth hit you hardest. Like the video if it gave you a new perspective. Subscribe for more insight that respects your time and your future. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss what matters most. Because retirement isn't the end. It's a decision. Make it count.